further ado, let's get this thing kicked off.
This is Upon Further Review.
After further review,
a little further,
with Chris Canty.
Yes, we got Upon Further Review, and it is a good one. Not going to have a lot of pomp and circumstance, but before we get to UFR, we have to, of course, bring you into the show. This is Unsportsmanlike on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU. She is the lovely Michelle Smallman. He is the Ocho, Evan Cohen. And I am the resident Super Bowl champ, Pat Costello. Let's get to it.
Number 3.
Move over, Sevy and Sir Nick. There's a new GOAT of European golfers. Rory McIlroy wins the 90th Masters, leading wire-to-wire to get back-to-back green jackets. He's the fourth player in the last 4 decades in the Masters to win by holding at least a share of the lead after each of the 4 rounds. He's the fourth player to win the Masters in consecutive years, joining Nick Faldo, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger. He's the 15th player to win at least 6 majors. He's one of 6 players to complete the career Grand Slam. That's a lot of history being made for a golfer that just 2 seasons ago was known as the guy that would find a way to lose the big one. On Sunday, Rory held off Justin Rose, Scottie Scheffler, Russell Henley, and Cameron Young, who all surged at various points during the final round. Back-to-back birdies on Amen Corner, scrambled to save par on 16, and then the dramatic approach shot on 18, leading to a 2-putt for the win. Outstanding poise in the noise for Rory. And in a year where we've seen so many redemption arcs for high-profile athletes, from Sam Darnold to Lauren Betts in UCLA women's basketball to Kurt Cignetti in Indiana football, is there a better story than Rory's?
Interesting comp with all of those. So has Rory been good or bad at the Masters historically? Because now, I mean, like, you now have to say he ended up being great.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Forget about just isolating it to the Masters. Let's talk about major tournaments.
Yeah.
How would you characterize Rory McIlroy's entire career when it comes to major tournaments?
I would say yesterday was a microcosm of it. Or this weekend, excuse me. He led wire to wire, as you said, but it was a roller coaster.
No doubt.
So he had this huge lead, and then he didn't. Then all of a sudden, Justin Rose has a chance to win, and Scottie Scheffler has a chance to win. So that's Rory's career. He's led wire to wire within a roller coaster.
Here's what I'll say, and this is unfair to Rory McIlroy. I still think about Pinehurst in 2024 more than I think about him winning back-to-back green jackets.
Really?
Yes. What? It's as crazy as it sounds. Like, I know, like, it's an incredible feat. Only 4 people in the history of golf have ever done it. I get it. But I still think about that guy that gave away the ghost. Now, I'm glad to see that he's getting on the other side of it and he's finding a way to deal with the pressure and allowing his talent to take over in the critical moments. That's what we saw yesterday in the back 9, and it's phenomenal. The shot making that he had in order to scramble, in order to save par in situations, in order to be able to score in others. He did a great job. But if you look at his entire career, if you're going to characterize what you expect to see from Rory McIlroy in major championships, it would be more so what we saw at Pinehurst in 2024 than what we saw yesterday at Augusta. Now, it's on a different trajectory, and he has plenty of runway to change it because, he's in his late 30s? So there's a lot of golf left to be played in his career, so we think. But right now, as it stands here today, you don't think about him as the guy that would win the big tournament if you're looking at the totality of his career, more so than the guy that will find creative ways to lose it.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because 2011, he was leading going into the final round and had an 80. Our ESPN radio teammate and ESPN Milwaukee host, Gabe Neitzel, I thought had an interesting tweet at GNeitzel16 Smalls. Unbelievable tournament and unbelievable for Rory. Going from a place that has snake bitten him so many times to now being one of their all-time great champs. Both parts of that are true, obviously.
Yeah, both parts are true. But when you are one of 4 golfers in history to go back-to-back at Augusta, I don't know. At least for me, that's the way I'm going to remember you. When you say, has he been good or bad at the Masters, we're talking about a Grand Slam. We're talking about having your name alongside Nicklaus, Faldo, Tiger. as one of only 4 guys to do it back-to-back. He goes in to get the jacket, and there's no one else there to put it on him because he's the previous Masters champion. That's as cold as it comes. So I think that the failures are part of the overall story. But right now, yeah, I think he's been pretty good at the Masters if we're talking about the immediacy of the moment.
Very quickly, CC, as a guy who played 11 years simultaneously as the person I'm going to ask you about in the NFL, Peyton Manning, great playoff performer or not so great playoff performer?
Not a great playoff performer. There's a huge disparity between the version of him we saw in the regular season versus what we got in the playoffs.
That's how I look at that kind of debate with
Agreed. Next.
Number 2.
Victor Wembanyama hits the 65-game threshold to qualify for postseason awards. The favorite to win NBA Defensive Player of the Year, Wemby expressed relief about reaching the milestone, calling it, quote, a box that's been checked, end quote, while also displaying empathy for other players who were ineligible for postseason awards because they haven't played in enough games due to injury. Wemby tossed the question out to reporters about the percentage of games played that it should be in order to qualify for season accolades. He floated the idea of a 75% game minimum, citing the potential incongruence between minutes logged and games played. Currently, it's at 80%, and it should stay that way. The best ability is availability. Shout out to Herm Edwards. And as a professional athlete, it's your job to stay healthy. It's as much of a skill as shooting or defending. The fact that so many players are complaining about it tells the NBA league office that it's working. It's on their minds, and not for nothing, it adds to the intrigue of the regular season. The MVP race this season has had an extra layer of excitement because we didn't know which players would qualify based on the threshold. Just because players don't like it doesn't mean that it's not in the best interest of the game and the business of basketball.
Well said. Very well said. Also, let me point out, Wemby is one of the great mathematicians I've ever seen in my life. He got up there at this press conference and figured out off the top of his head all of these percentages. I've never seen anything like it. I think you said it perfectly. It's working if guys are playing more, and you as an ex-athlete, if you're sitting there saying, and obviously you're not talking about Embiid with his situation with the appendix or a collapse lung with Cade. Those are not injuries. Those are, well, they are injuries, but you get what I'm saying. They're not basketball-related injuries. If you're saying part of your job for your 11 years in the NFL, winning a Super Bowl, is I have to find a way to max out my effort and my ability and max out my health, and guys are getting hurt, and you're putting that on the players to some extent, then yeah, well said.
And then there's the bit about Luka challenging whether or not he should be eligible because he left for the birth of his daughter, I believe. So it's just, it's really weird, the loopholes that players are searching for. And here's the thing that frustrates me. You don't have to win the postseason award. You don't have to qualify for postseason accolades. That doesn't serve as an impediment to your team being able to contend for a championship.
It serves as
an impediment to being able to get the next max contract.
Correct.
Exactly.
That's what it all comes down to. And here's the thing: if you want the cream on top of what your base contract already is, then you have to make sure that you're there more often than not. So we're talking about contract extras. We're not talking about something that gets in the way of what your team can or cannot do in terms of trying to have success at the highest level of the sport. So I hate to say it boils down to vanity or legacy or just money, but that's what we're talking about. And guess what? The average fan don't give a damn about none of that. So if the players are interested in making sure that they serve the people that consume their content on a regular basis, stop complaining about the 65-game threshold because we don't want to hear it. It does not matter to us whether or not you get $50 or $60 million. It doesn't matter. We don't care. We just want to see good basketball. And guess what? When you're eligible for those kind of contracts, the way that we guarantee that fans see the good basketball is by you having your ass on the court.
I'm so glad you brought it up that way, CC, because as a consumer, that's what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about your legacy or the money that you're making. I'm concerned about the money that I have to pay for League Pass or various streaming services to watch these games. And if you're not out there, it hampers my viewing experience, which is obviously what the NBA is concerned with, which is why they had to put these guardrails in place in the first place.
You mentioned Luka. I'm glad you did. And great takes on that. Stan Van Gundy, and I don't remember where he said it. I apologize. I'll credit if I remember it. it may have been the Ringer. He said, "What about the game that Luka missed because the technical fouls?"
The Wizards game, yeah.
The agent didn't put that out there.
No.
We understand you missed games for the birth of your child. Obviously.
You can miss 17 games.
You missed the game because you got too many technical fouls. So you going to bring that one up?
1,000%. Next.
Number 1.
A 3-person appeals panel on Friday upheld the arbitrator's decision that there wasn't sufficient evidence of collusion by NFL teams when negotiating the contracts of Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, and Kyler Murray in the 2022 offseason. The 61-page ruling found that the NFL encouraged teams to collude, but inexplicably concluded the teams ignored the encouragement from the league. Setting aside the ridiculous confidentiality agreement between the league and the union to keep the panel's decision from the players, why this matters is the details that were discovered around negotiations for Lamar's contract, specifically the chain of events that led to his current deal. The Ravens offered Lamar what they considered 2 fully guaranteed 3-year deals that were rejected. Lamar expressed via text to general manager Eric DeCosta that he wanted a fully guaranteed deal while acknowledging the Ravens didn't want to do it. And in the 11th hour offer to Lamar on the eve of the 2023 draft, where the Ravens were preparing to move forward without the MVP quarterback. It clearly wasn't the deal Lamar wanted to sign, but it was the deal that he had to take under the circumstances. However, now that he has the no tag and the no trade clauses set in his contract, that is laying the groundwork for the 3-time first-team All-Pro to achieve his contract demands this time around when it comes to negotiations with Baltimore. Unless and until general manager Eric DeCosta makes Lamar an offer he can't refuse, the relationship between Lamar and the Ravens will be acrimonious all the way to the end, which inevitably will be the 2027 offseason.
Very simply put, if they don't get a deal done soon, we are not going to stop talking about it. Let me say it better. If we are not going to stop talking about it until they get a deal done. That's the reality.
It's going to be the number one thing we talk about. He showed up to voluntary workouts and it was like, okay, check that box. Now let's talk about the deal. It's going to be the thing that persists until the ink is dry. And I'm with Cece. I don't know if the relationship behind the scenes is all warm and fuzzy and if we're going to see a divorce here between Lamar and the Ravens.
Upon further review here on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance, keep your career moving forward. Visit careers.progressive.com. Wait, who's in the green room? We'll find out next. We're on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.
Introducing the all-new